the goal is today to help you move the needle with anything that might be troubling you, with the idea of digging beneath a little bit to see what's underneath the surface. And the purpose of that is really to see what's running the show, to see what's really behind everything that we get triggered by or upset by, because it never is about that moment, that particular time when you got cut up or someone overlooked you for a position at work. It is rarely about that. It is always about something that has been triggered. And the point is, if you look at that without criticism, without judgment, then you get to a place where you can acknowledge, and by acknowledge you can validate, and with validation you can release. So we're going to go into lots of things in more details, but I'm just giving you guys an overview. We had 27 sign-ups, which is so but I'm going to see how many people come in, and I'm just going to clear the space a bit. Now, for those of you who don't know me and not familiar with my work, you know, in case you hadn't realized, there is a heritage, a brown heritage. So I am a student of our ancient wisdom, Vedas. It resonates deeply with me. And it's not really a religion as in an indoctrination. It is a spiritual practice. And the reason why I incorporate that, not, you know, if you find it offensive or you find it something you don't resonate, you can, of course, mute me. It's not going through the whole thing. But it is because we are, as we will discuss in greater detail, all frequencies and energy. And when we say a mantra, we become the mantra. And the word Om is a primordial sound. This is the beginning of everything. And so there is a resonance in particular that I feel really speaks to being able to heal your soul. So I don't know what you guys make it, but I can see it's, according to me, it's about 10 past. We'll give it another 2-3 minutes. I haven't started the recording now. But that doesn't matter. Then we can have a small intimate group and they'll have to watch the recording. But then, you know, sometimes in life as well, you know, when you listen, you actually get more from it than when you're speaking. Because when you're speaking, your brain is also going, you're also doing your running commentary as we do, the narration of our life, right? So yes, again, just to let you know, this is also a really safe space. Again, afterwards, when I've stopped the recording, you're more than welcome to, and I'll go off the live as well, you're more than welcome to come off camera if you've got any questions or whatever, or you want to talk about anything afterwards, then yes, please do that. But in the meantime, in the vein of treating people how we want to be treated, I go by this adage of, is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? So I request that we treat this group with confidentiality, well, easy for me to say, that you would like to be treated. Because, you know, some of you may know each other, some of you may not, but it would be, I would say, the best way forward, and a request from me to respect the stories that are told here today afterward. Right, I'm actually going to start now, otherwise we'll run over, which we might do anyway. So I'm just going to clear the sound with my sound bowl and the frequency of the energies to open this up. If you are sensitive to noise, then just lower your volume. So, welcome everybody. I'm super excited. I'm so blessed that you trust me to take you on this little journey on the new moon. Today is a new moon, and we know that new moons traditionally are about planting seeds, releasing what no longer serves you, and this one is particularly powerful. It is about releasing and surrendering versions of you that you no longer require, that are not part of your higher self. But you don't need to share your story here to receive value from being here. And today isn't about revisiting everything that's happened to you. It's about noticing what you're carrying and deciding what you'd like to do with that moving forward. Because we often spend years trying to change our circumstances before changing the beliefs underneath them. And that's what we're here to do today. So I want you to kind of like think about this with a little exercise I'm going to start. If we see ourselves every day, view our emotional capacity to deal with stuff. Say, look at it, visualize it as like 10 coffee beans. That is the emotional capacity we've all been given as adults. The thing is, you don't necessarily start your day with that 10 beams if you're going through grief or caring for responsibilities or conflict in your life, uncertainty. All of that reduces your emotional capacity. So maybe you start the day with actually 4 or 6 coffee beans as opposed to 10 that you need in order to feel resilient and fully functioning at your best self. So here's a question. How many, you can write it down in your notebooks. So welcome, we've had a few other joiners as well, which is great. So going back to what we're really here for, the point is at the end of this, you feel that you've shifted the needle around your self-leadership. In other words, how do you feel safe when there is no safety net? So what I was saying before we didn't manage to record was around the fact that if you view your daily life, that you have every day a certain amount of emotional capacity to do with things, and then life kicks in, doesn't it anyway, and next thing you are depleted. How do you replenish that? Because it's very personal for each person. And you can't just say, you know, it's wonderful to say go in nature, meditate, all the rest of it. Sometimes you can't even do that. Excuse me. And you know, like you have to do that in the moment, just like I had to kind of just then. It was like, take a breath, take a pause. Okay, don't freak out. One of the best ways, and I will send you all these tips afterwards, is to get in touch with your vagus healing nerve. Not spelt as in Vegas, Las Vegas, but equally good for you. Can Las Vegas be good for you? Different subject. But the vagus healing nerve is actually a really important part of your physiology. And the easiest way to get into it is basically to breathe in and breathe out for longer. So if you want, you could start by breathing in for 4, hold for 2, and then breathe out for 6. Even if you just remember, out breath always longer. Out breath exhales. If you start the morning by just doing that, that in itself puts you already in touch with the frequency that is your natural body's healing. And if you forget that during the day, there's another one as well. I mean, a lot of these habits have actually now been taken over by the West, which are, as I was saying earlier, very much still part of our ancient Vedic wisdom. And sorry, it's just about to tip over with the cat in the background. Of course, is the fact that there's something called lion's breath, where you stick your tongue out. So don't freak out. And it actually reduces all the tension in your neck, and as a result, your cortisol. So make a note of doing that. You stick your tongue out for 40 seconds, as far as you can reach it. Sit down, lower your shoulders as far as you can reach it, and do that for 40 seconds. Hold, then rest for 60 seconds. Do that 3 times. Even if you just do that first thing in the morning, first thing at night, last thing at night. And the reason why I say to do this is because if we then look at the bigger picture of manifesting our reality, a life that we want, you can't do that if your nervous system is not self-regulated. It's the first place that you have to come to before you can do anything else. And then with this work, work is particularly steeped in quantum energy. So people go, oh, no, what's that? Quite rightly so. But I'll give you an example. And again, you can use your notepad here. Sorry, I'm about to be invaded by a cat. I want to teach you, or rather demo, because it's always great listening to stuff, but you know, doing it is a whole different ball game. So let's do some what I call color magic. I want you to think of something. You don't have to share it in the chat. You don't have to share it with me. Think of something that's really heavy for you. The first thing that comes to mind, gives you grief, gives you anxiety, you feel your breath shorten, and write down what color is it. No right or wrong to it. What color is it? There'll be an instinctive answer. Now think of this again, and again, with no right or wrong, answer this question. What color should it be? So you'll find, and you can write this in the chat if you feel comfortable. If you don't worry about it. But there was a shift, right? There was a shift between the first of the color when you felt and thought about it in that weighted, heavy expectation way, until the way you wanted it to have it in your life. What color should it be? And traditionally, it does actually go from dark to lighter color. Obviously, as soon as it gets to white divine light, then you know that vibration, going back to what we said in the beginning, for those of you who missed, this is about, you know, frequency and vibration. And this is also about how you get back to your frequency internally, so that you know that you are your own safety net. So these are little steps that I'm taking you along the way, and then we will start to do some work. So the first thing I want to do is explain a little bit about my modality. So if you're not familiar with me, I trained as what's called a theta healer about 14 years ago. Theta healing is your deep subconscious, that fuzzy state just before you fall asleep and when you wake up in the morning. And I call that the bedrock of your belief system, because whatever is actually planted there in your deep subconscious, that's actually what's running the powerhouse. So what do I mean by your deep bedrock of your belief system? Because if you think about it this way, basically it takes 17 seconds for the neurons in your brain to latch on to a thought. That's why all social media scrolling is 13-15 seconds. It probably does take about that much anyway. You know, you read it, you decide, I want to read this, I don't want to read this, I like this, I don't like this, blah blah blah. And then, you know, a belief is just a repeated thought, and then the patterns come from a repeated belief. And what happens is the neurons in your brain then get hardwired and fused to think that that is true. And your ego, which is your narrator, then supplies you with all the evidence to support that and seeks that as well. So why am I breaking that down? Because it's really important to understand the primal thought, what I call the seed, the wound, the primal wound, what really gave birth to that. And when you get that, you can extract that, release that if it no longer serves you. And when you do that, you release everything else that has grown out of it, which is why it makes the work very powerful. So obviously then you have to get to the seed belief. So the assessment tool that I use, if you're not familiar, is called muscle testing, and that's when the hydration thing comes in, and that's why I said be hydrated. And muscle testing, again, is something, I can send you a video of. I'll show you very simply. You can do it just now. A lot of you've done it with me anyway before, but I'm going to show you the one way which is really infallible, that works for everybody, which is standing up. And basically you stand up and you put, you're kind of ideally, obviously not wearing shoes. Then you just relax and you say the words yes, and you see if your body goes backwards or forwards like a human pendulum, or you say the words no. And you see, and sometimes it'll be the other way around. Now, the important bit here is that you always make statements. You don't ask questions, because a question has a myriad of answers. So you make statements. My name is Neha. I'm a woman. I live in London, whatever it might be. And you can start to test that. For example, if you have a nickname, you can test it with your nickname versus you can test it with your pet name or your actual name. What were you born? And this, that, and the other. The reason why you want that assessment tool, because it helps you see whether or not it has shifted. So that's what we want to do. Now, you guys can have a little test of that and have a little bit of a water. And then I'm going to show you what I call the second part, which is release. So the first part is reveal, the second part is release, and then we restore. All the yummy good stuff. You get dehydrated. The reason, of course, of the water is because we are mostly water. And this year we're going to really discover the intelligence of water and the information that's carried in water. It's really interesting, actually, the studies that are coming out at the moment. So here's one I want you to muscle test, if you're all okay to do this. I muscle test using a daisy chain like this, but it's quite difficult for me to teach that across the screen because it's difficult to teach you the exact kind of pressure you need. But the other way you can muscle test as well is by rubbing your forefinger and thumb together as if you've got a piece of string. Say the words yes. See how it feels, like smooth, fast. And then you can do the same and say the words no and see if it's stopped and it's stickier. You can see with mine there's a real difference in the textures. And again, you make the statements. So you say, I am good enough, I am loved, I am open to receive. You can start to make statements and find and map out exactly what's been going on in your subconscious. So here's one I want you guys to do, because I would say pretty much all of us have this one, of course, apart from me, because I'm perfect. No, obviously completely not. That's the British banter for you. But don't freak out when I say this word. But I want you all to make a statement and muscle test. Again, if you want to put it in the chat, you can. If you don't want to, put it in your notebook. I want to make the statement, I have psychic hooks. Now, when you hear the word psychic hooks, it's like, what the hell is that? But basically, it is the energy of any time anyone has said anything negative about you, including yourself. It is the energy of if anyone's cursed you out, whether it's some rando on the street who honked the horn and wouldn't let you overtake them, or it is your mother telling you once again you're an utter disappointment to her. Whatever it is, those are psychic hooks, and intentionally, unintentionally, we carry them. So you can test. I have psychic hooks, and I'll show you mine. I have psychic hooks because we all do, because we don't realize it. We are equally judgmental about others as they are about us, and also because, know this from the Real Housewives phenomenal, it's always great to just look at someone else's misery rather than focus on what we should be doing with our lives, right? So that's the psychic hook. I have psychic hooks. I'll just check the chat. But no. So you can test that. You can go backwards and forwards and test that as well. Now, we're going to release it. So for those of you who weren't there in the beginning, I was saying I use a particular mantra, and I use the words consciously mantra because when you say a mantra, you become the mantra. It has a frequency and resonance. So what I do is take us all into the theta state. But first you give me your consent. You can say that out loud. Again, you can put it in the chat. You don't have to. I actually recommend that you never work with anyone in the deep subconscious if they don't ask for your consent first. It is a very sacred space, so good practice universal laws are such that you should always ask for consent. So then I just ask for consent, and then I will say the mantra to release it, and then we will muscle test whether or not it's released or not, to give you an example of how this works, and then we can dive into some deeper stuff. If you've got any questions, you can put a hand up or anything in the chat, but hopefully this is all being manageable right now. So I assume, since no one said no, that you will give your consent to the creator of all there is. It is commanded that all psychic hooks now be released. All psychic hooks through all lifetimes, past, present, future, in between lives, all programs now be released, backwards and forwards, forwards and backwards, within as it is without. All trauma from all the psychic hooks now be released. All lessons learned now be released. All soul fragments be washed, cleansed, returned whole. Above as it is below, within as it is without. And in love and light, return to love, 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 love. And so it is. And that really is the mantra. As I take you in the theta state, maybe some of you felt it, maybe some of you didn't. But now you can muscle test. I have psychic hooks, and I'd love to see if it's shifted or not. If you can muscle test it. Again, if you feel comfortable sharing it, do. If you don't, you don't have to. This is for you to work on as you go along. And when we work with these statements, sometimes some shift faster than others, some are easier. Others appear to be the root problem, the primal wound, but actually won't be. They will actually be many things underneath it. And you again muscle test that. You say, is this my primal wound? Have I learnt all I need to learn from this? Am I ready to release this? And so on. And you might have heard me in the mantra that I did 3 things at the end of it, which was to release the trauma of anything negative being said about us, any curses, all the rest of it, to return and transmute it back to love, because that's what we do with energy, right? We transmute it and send it back to the universe with love, not with hatred. Again, remembering about frequencies and energy, the whole idea of treating people as we want to be treated. Where does all this come from? Because it's a symbiotic process, isn't it, between humans? We're electromagnetic forces that interact with each other, right or wrong. So now you can, let me see if there's anyone said, oops, oh, about to shift again. Muscle test, I have psychic hooks. And this is the process that we actually use for so much other things. In particular, there's 2 things that I'll briefly talk about, which is abuse and also grief, because I know that a lot of people have been going through that during this time. And it's never really, as I said to you in the beginning, about the actual incident itself. It is always what it's triggering. and with abuse, it is the legacy of shame and blame. And this is really the fuel behind a lot of our fears. Shame. We carry so much of it, particularly from what we are now called global majority. If you're first gen, second gen immigrants, or more importantly, without meaning at all to be sounding as if I'm sexist, for a lot of women, you know, we are conditioned to carry responsibility for how everybody else feels. Just as well, in the collective, for a lot of men, there is the idea of, you know, a certain kind of responsibility, masculinities. These expectations are all in our deep subconscious. And when we don't meet them is when the shame comes in. Because the one person, of course, who we talk to the most and have the greatest amount of dialogue is our inner narrator, our ego, or our criticism, our judgment. So when people say like self-love, of course the aim is to self-love, but how do you get that if you're coming from a place of shame? Because shame, the vibration itself sits so low as well. And that can be shame from all sorts of things. You know, maybe you haven't met your parents' expectations. Maybe you've had a relationship that's failed. Maybe you've been abused and think you are to blame. You know, maybe you have dysfunctional relationships with your children. There are so many layers to this. And that's the one that we need to really tackle the most. Because many people actually carry shame that never actually belonged to them to begin with, and many people carry blame that should never have been theirs to carry, and this, you know, relates to so many difficult life events. So again, this is something you can muscle test in this moment. I have shame. Oh my goodness, see, look, even after doing all this work, look at this. This is why we kind of have to do like a daily clearance. So I thought, here am I. You can see I'm not even making that up because I would have faked that. But this is how I go. I have shame. And if you want to do the work a little bit more, I would encourage you to start looking at this without judgment, because that's the killer, to actually look at it with curiosity. So, for example, with something like grief has so many complex emotions surrounding it, because nobody wants grief, because nobody asked for it, so they resent it. But sometimes we don't recognize the fact that, you know, we're feeling resentful or angry towards the person that's transitioned. So I'm kind of want to encourage you that you start becoming self-aware and start pulling apart the layers, so with curiosity and not judgment. Almost imagine like you are, you know, have a conference room of no judgment for all your emotions, and invite everyone to come in and sit and say, what is it you need? What do you need in this moment to self-soothe? What is feeling? What bruise has been hit? Are you feeling unseen, unheard? Are you trusting yourself? Are you not trusting yourself? This is where, again, you can go back to muscle testing. And then this is my primal wound. And then I can teach you how to say different things. And if you do more work with me, you'll understand the mantras of how to release it. But this is such a big step. As I said before, I'm a student of the Vedas. And in our ancient wisdom, there is a line in the Gita that says the greatest gift you can give the universe is self-awareness. And I really believe that resonates with me deeply, because you come to self-awareness, and then if you can get to self-acceptance, if you can accept yourself for who you are without the judgment and self-criticism, that's when you start to access peace of mind, which, you know, is something that you have to practice. It's not something that just magic wand. I wish, right? So let's just do a little bit of the shame and blame, and then I want to work on some of the 5 sort of big statements that I downloaded today when I meditated about this, and giving what I think for the collective would be the best. Unless you have any questions, I know some people joined later, but if you are all okay, then I will move on. So again, you can test. I have shame. I have shame. I'm ready to. I have shame. Sorry. Let me do this with you the right way. I have blame. Ah, so interesting. I don't have blame, but I have shame. And then I want to say, what do I have the shame for? Do I need to know? This is my seed belief. Oh, it's coming up as a yes for me. I'm ready to release this. Yes. I've learned all I need to learn from this. Yes. And then if you get stuck with that more, that was where I would suggest you do more personal work with me. But this is just at least the first bit. You can start to understand, you know, so next time you do it, think, why the hell have I blown up? Why am I upset? Why do I feel embarrassed by this person said this thing? Why have I interpreted it this way? What's going on, if that makes sense, yeah? So once again, I ask your consent, and you can close your eyes. You can put your hand again on your heart. That connects you to your vagus healing nerve. Breathe in for 4, hold for 2, breathe out 6. To the creator of all there is, it is commanded that all shame now be released. All shame and blame from all levels and all lifetimes, past, present, future, and between. All programs, above as it is below, within as it is without. Transmuted back to Gaia with love, 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 and so it is. To the creator of all there is, it is commanded to restore the creator's highest definition, perspective, and meaning of what it is to be able to live your day-to-day life with ease, carrying no shame and no blame for things that never belonged to you, for stories that were never yours, teaching you how to, when to, that you are worthy of this, deserving of this, that you give yourself permission to do so, that it is possible to do so, teaching you what this smells like, tastes like, sounds like, feels like, how to do this with ease every day in every way. Through every breath you take, every piece of your DNA, above as it is below, within as it is without, and in love and light. Thank you. It is done. It is done. It is done. Ashe. So unless you've got any questions, and if you're okay to continue, oh, we're not doing too badly actually, then I want to come to the biggies. But if you can feel the energy shifting in your body, then send me a heart. If you can muscle test and see that I have shame or I have blame, if it's shifted, then send me a heart if you can. I don't know how to do these things, but I'm telling you all. And if you have any questions, apart from my lack of digital prowess, put them in. Are you all still with me? Are you all still alive? Is this useful? Have you all gone to sleep on me? Oh, brilliant. Fantastic. Right. So now you've done muscle testing for a little bit, and we've also cleared the energy. We've cleared the energy of anybody else out there in the world. I recommend clearing your psychic hooks every day when you come home, a bit like you wash your hands when you come off public transport. You know, there's a lot of like feisty, angry Mars energy out there at the moment. So let's make some statements and muscle test these. Again, you can make it in your notebook, And oh, thank you, SA. And then you can make a note of what is shifting and what isn't, and what needs perhaps a little bit more digging down. So when you're going to do a few, obviously we would do loads more. This is why I say come do work with me, but the reason why I say about doing at least 3, it's to build a foundation and a momentum, but we can talk about that afterwards. So here we're going to start with, this is the good one, we always love this one. I am enough. I'm just muscle testing like this, and if it's good, brilliant. If it's not, again, this is my seed belief, this is my base belief. I've learned all I need to learn from this. I'm ready to release it. Just for you to make your notes, yes? Then the next one is, I trust myself. Often people find that muscle testing isn't necessarily working for them initially, although standing and swaying always does, and that's a lot to do with not trusting yourself. And this is what I mean by self-leadership, because we are at a point where I really do believe it is all about, keeping our sovereignty and knowing how to trust ourselves in a world where we're just bombarded with a tsunami amount of information that we constantly have to kind of assimilate and process, right? So trusting yourself is really vital. Here's another one that's really important, particularly for survivors. My voice matters. So you can say that yes or no. I deserve happiness. I deserve financial freedom. I no longer give my power away. I respect myself. I accept myself for who I am without judgment or criticism from myself or others. So I accept myself for who I am without judgment or criticism from myself or others, which is again one of the biggest reasons why we get stuck, why we get in a repeated pattern, because we've been taught, especially like South Asian Desi families, as I said, first gen, it's like, what will people say? We have to do an impression, we have to put forward, a front facing, which is not necessarily in alignment with our soul and our higher self. We have to perform a certain way. Even as women, I was having a conversation with, a client. She was saying, I just feel so frustrated that we are constantly judged by whether or not we're married, whether we have children, whether you're divorced, whether you're in a relationship, whether you have a job, whether you have got the car and the family and this, that and the other. And I ticked all those boxes, but I'm not happy, because those are external validations that will never fully kind of make you feel that you truly are seen and heard. Sorry, my cat has just stood on the remote control, so let me just switch that in the background. See, you can't cater for things that happen live. So I think that's enough time to give you all to test that, but I'll run it through you again. It's, I am enough. Yes or no. I trust myself. Yes or no. See, all statements. My voice matters. Yes or no. I deserve happiness. I deserve financial freedom. I no longer give my power away. I respect myself. I accept myself for who I am without judgment or criticism from myself or others. And I'm going to say wild guess that the last one is one that came up as a no for all of us. Remember I said the step to self-love, to more self-love, and there's nothing in the world that doesn't get better from more love, more self-love, is self-acceptance without judgment. That's the first step. And then you can build on that. So, unless you've all came up with a yes for all of that, I'm going to then, if you're all okay with that, move to install that, and then we'll muscle test afterwards to see if it's shifted. I'm taking the silence as, yes, this is great, carry on, and that you haven't all gone into a coma. Or if you have, it's a nice theta healed coma. So I'm going to muscle test for you and see what it said. I am enough. I got mostly a no. To the creator of all there is, it is commanded. All vows, oaths, promises, contracts, hidden soul contracts, hexes, curses, fears, beliefs, obligations placed upon others to not be enough, now be lifted and sent to Creator's light. Through all lifetimes, past, present, future, in between lives, all time, space and dimensions, backwards and forwards, forwards and backwards, through all lifetimes. Above as it is below, within as it is without, transmuted to Gaia, returned to love, 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 and so it is. To the creator of all there is, it is commanded to reinstall the creator's highest definition, perspective, and meaning of what it is to be able to live your day-to-day life with ease, knowing that you are good enough. Teaching you that it's safe to do so, that you give yourself permission to do so, that you are worthy of this, deserving of this. Teaching you what this smells like, tastes like, sounds like, feels like, how to do this with ease every day in every way, through every cell in your body, every breath you take, past, present, future to eternity, above as it is below, within as it is without, and in love and light. Thank you. It is done, return to love, 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 and so it is. Just giving you a few moments to transmute that and feel that energy leaving your body. To the creator of all there is, it is commanded, all vows, oaths, promises, contracts, hidden soul contracts, hexes, curses, fears, beliefs, obligations placed upon others, to not accept yourself without judgment or criticism from yourself or others, now be taken and sent to Creator's light, transmuted into love. Through all lifetimes and programs, above as it is below, within as it is without, releasing all trauma from every time you accepted the judgment and criticism, and every time you self-judged or criticized, releasing all the trauma, returning all soul fragments washed, cleansed, whole, all lessons learned, return to Gaia in love, 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 love. Ashe. To the creator of all there is, it is commanded to reinstall the creator's highest definition, perspective, and meaning of what it is to be able to live with ease your day-to-day life without self-criticism, without taking on board the need to be validated from others, to be able to accept yourself and not the judgment or criticism from others for all that you are and all that you aren't, with loving, gracious kindness, teaching you how to, when to, that you are worthy of this, deserving of this, that it is possible to do so, that you give yourself permission to do so, above as it is below, teaching you what this smells like, tastes like, sounds like, feels like, how to do this with ease every day in every way, through every cell in your body, every breath you take, past, present, future to eternity, above as it is below, within as it is without, and another night. Thank you. It is done, it is done, it is done. Aho. Again, see if you can feel the energy start to shift. Has the tension in your shoulders start to get a little lighter? Can you visualize yourself as if you are a budding pop star about to step onto the stage into a shower of divine light? Feel that light come down through your crown chakra into your third eye. Each spark of divine light, iridescent, luminescent divine light, sparking the one next to it, through all your DNA, through all your cells, releasing all the tension through your neck, down through your spine. When it hits little blocks of resistance, gently lay your gaze there and say the Hawaiian forgiveness mantra. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you, I love you. Because all the tension in your body will come through some kind of energy, some kind of deep subconscious thought, tension, hardwiring, resistance against who you are, your divine inner spirit. Feel your heart chakra filled with iridescent, luminescent, divine white light, moving down your solar plexus, through your sacral chakra and your base, down through to your hand chakras and your feet, allowing yourself to receive. Because this is one of the things we don't do, is give ourselves permission to receive. And as I said before, you cannot manifest if your nervous system is not self-regulated, if you are not starting from the base of reset. Just as you would in a tennis match, after every point, go back to reset. Whether it's through your vagus healing nerve, whether it's through imagining yourself in that shower of divine light, whether it's gazing with curiosity at what you need and what needs to be self-soothed, inquire within and feel yourself in that vibration. Because when you are in vibration of positivity, gratitude, which is the same frequency as love, unlike shame, greed, envy, grief, which are the lower frequencies, it is impossible to feel envy and feel gratitude at the same time. So when you reach for gratitude, you immediately start self-regulating. You immediately go back to your brain feeling safe, thinking, no, this is true, I like this, this is okay, yes, I'm confident. The thing we forget is that we've already survived the worst of our days, even at this point. So I'll give you a few moments to come back into yourself and tell me how you feel. And now I'm going to actually,